This week on In the Field, I'm going to the top of Mount Soledad in San Diego for some 360-degree views of the city. Hi everyone, my name is Scott Davenport and welcome back to In the Field. This week going to Mount Soledad in San Diego. So I wanted to do another sunrise shoot and so got up early, but I've been running a little ragged this week and so I wanted to stay reasonably close to the center of San Diego. Sometimes I'll go out to the deserts for sunrise because you can get some really beautiful things out there. But that means getting up earlier, and the sun's coming up earlier now, and so all of that stacks up to less and less sleep. Couldn't pull myself together to do that, so instead stayed local. And what's nice about Mount Soledad is it has unobstructed views, 360-degree views of San Diego. And with a forecast of partly cloudy, that's good potential for some nice sunrise stuff, or at least some nice interesting play of light in the sky. And the point where Mount Soledad is 200 to 220 degrees of that 360 you have, there is interesting scenery, land. Whether it's the downtown in the distance, the mountains that are in the distance with lights coming up, something closer and more intimate. There's the memorial for veterans up there itself that makes an interesting subject. So it's a very good multi-purpose place to shoot. So depending on what the conditions present, you've got a lot of options. So let's have a look out there and I'll show you what happened on this particular morning. Here is San Diego, and Mount Soledad is right up in here. I'll zoom in there just a little bit. One more click. So right up here in Soledad Park, there's the monument. And you can see sunrise, coming in more or less from the east. So off in the distance to the east, we have the hills. And then from here, you've got, just, wonderful views everywhere within San Diego. I mean, looking directly west, you've got mostly ocean. But it's just a fantastic place. And let's look on the maps here. So again, here's San Diego downtown, down here. Soledad up in this area here. Zoom in a little bit more. So you can see the way up here, this circular area is where the monument is. And let's switch to 3D mode here. That looks pretty good. So here, if we are standing up on this spot, you can see you've got just views of everything. And you can, if I zoom out far enough, imagine, being at this point where my cursor is. And off in the distance, you've got these hills that are going here, the flatlands, valleys there. Shooting up to the north, there's Torrey Pines, and even going all the way down toward the south, you've got Mission Bay, and then beyond that, you get into downtown, Coronado. So it is just a really good place. If you're visiting San Diego and want to get a lay of the land, head up to Mount Soledad and just have literally have a look around. It is about a half hour before sunrise, and I'm on the top of Mount Soledad, which gives a really nice, almost 360-degree view of the whole San Diego area. And I'm thinking this morning, since there's quite a bit of cloud cover, it is got pockets and breaks in it, may get some nice color in the sky, setting up to do a pano. So for the panos, I've set up vertically, and I'm going to sweep from left to right all the way across here over to that brighter area in the distance, overlapping the frames by a good 25%. And I'm kind of just using, I don't know if this will come out on the video here, maybe you can see at the top there we go, these grid lines here and here. I'm just using those as my guide so that I can make sure I get a good amount of overlap so that the stitching software will have plenty of things to work with. Also, I'm watching this brighter area on the horizon. It's got some interesting light going on, and I may just finish the pano here and then take some tighter shots. The sun is not getting a full break here, and so this cloud cover is going to hold with not too much color, a lot of monochromatic things. But that might prove interesting in post, so I'm going to take a few more shots using these close-ups of the distant buildings, some of the peaks here, and then wrap things up. It's getting a little chilly up here on the top of this hill, so I'm going to get some warm coffee So you saw, I decided to go with the long lens and compress some of the distances, and also take quite a number of panos. That's something that I'd done from time to time, and mainly shied away from it because my processing workflow became cumbersome. Up until very recently, I did not own Photoshop. I did not use Lightroom, and I did not have a specific piece of software to do panoramics. And I could do them, but putting them together became much more of a chore. Now I'm more open to it because it's a lot easier. Lightroom CC or Lightroom 6, they built it into the product, and I guess there's part of me that's anxious to go and try that out. But I also I guess I found myself being drawn to this one area off toward the mountains, toward the east, where the clouds were still hanging low, and there was enough light where you saw this cascade or stack up of the mountains, where the ones in the foreground have the most definition, and then there's a layer of fog and clouds, and the next one's a little bit softer, and the next one's a little bit softer than that, and so forth. I found that kind of interesting. So I shot a bunch of those things as well. So I haven't processed anything yet, so I can't show you a final image, but I'm pretty sure at least one of those close-ups of the mountains I'm going to like, and probably one of the panos is going to be pretty cool. It's going to have much more of a subdued, grayish tone to it. Part of me is thinking I might even take it in an ominous direction. So we'll see what the post-processing brings us on these. As a tip of the week, just for shooting panoramics, you want to do two things. One is orient your camera vertically. And even though ultimately you're going to have a very wide shot that's narrow, if you turn the camera vertically and think about it like pages of a magazine, if you were to tear out pages of an old portrait magazine. Remember magazines? We used to flip through them and so forth. Yeah, take those pages out and you stack them up, one by one, line them up on the floor, and you end up with a very long, wide image. That's what you're doing with your camera. And then the other thing is to overlap the shot by 20 to 30%. I tend to overlap a little more than less. Digital shots are cheap, if not free. And then if you have a rule of thirds guide, or at least just the tic-tac-toe lines that show up on the back of your camera or through your viewfinder, those become easy points to use to make sure you get a decent amount of overlap and give your panoramic software plenty of data to work with. So that is it for this week in the field. If you enjoyed this, let me know. Shoot me a tweet, drop me a message through my website, G+, what else am I on? Ello, Flickr occasionally, what else? Instagram. There's all sorts of places. All of my links to all that stuff is on my website. I'd love to hear from you. Love to hear what your questions are. If you're just enjoying the show, let me know that, because that helps, and that means it motivates me to do another one, because there's someone out there that's getting something from this, and that is just great.